Hey guys, it's me Shay again. Um, I guess I just kind of wanted to talk about this for a while because I've been seeing it coming up over and over again repeatedly on my feed and stuff about how a lot of young men are really like upset about, women having a sexual past, and there's a lot of misogyny that starts showing up as well, that these women aren't marriageable or that they're not good with people. And this paranoia really, I think it comes from like a sort of dehumanization of women, and also like sort of a lack of self confidence. I feel like young boys really struggle with that. So I guess I was thinking of like how bad, what a bad reputation hookup sex and like sort of premarital sex has. And wow, look at that, that's so cute. Has in India, like the reputation that sex kind of has in India, which is really sad. And I'm someone who has engaged in this behavior a lot. But honestly, I feel like I benefited from it more than I lost. And I think I really want to talk about it. Naturally, obviously, it's not for everyone, so I'm not encouraging it. But I do think it's worth considering an alternative sort of perspective on that, instead of a religious or moral perspective. I think it's worth the discussion. So this video is basically about my personal learnings from having an active sex life as an unmarried Indian woman. My body count is somewhere should be close to 30. Of course, I'm not the average Indian woman. The average Indian woman isn't even close. Most average, most Indian women are just like virgins, or they've dedicated themselves to a guy or someone. Obviously talking from a heteronormative perspective as well. But yeah, so basically this video is about my personal journey being active sexually, and um I'm really sleepy. This is gonna be really hard. Okay, so I want to start with like giving a little bit of context when it comes to how I got into it. So I was quite repressed as a child. My dad was quite strict. My sister and I weren't even allowed to really like wear dresses or like sort of sleeveless clothes. And my sexual curiosity was basically, I felt like it was natural, but it was definitely amplified by the sort of oppression, in a way, the repression that my upbringing basically had on us. And yeah, we would be disciplined, we would be asked to cover up, not interact with boys and stuff. It was really weird. But somehow I kind of had this wisdom to understand that like if I was suppressing what I felt like were very natural needs, they would mutate and distort, and so I took it upon myself to like sort of explore these desires and these needs within a very controlled and safe environment. And it started, I mostly started online, and I was very young when I started to sort of flash online and stuff, just to, you know, get like enjoy myself a little bit or feel that pleasure or whatever. Um, and then eventually I started to have a sexual relationship with my boyfriend by the age of 18. And before that, I was very into like purity and chastity because as a child, I was raised quite religious. And after meeting my first boyfriend, I felt like this was it. I didn't really need to look into, having another partner, and he was going to be it for the rest of my life, and that's what everyone thinks. And so I gave up my virginity, and as it happens, we broke up, and I was devastated, and blah blah blah, and we eventually I started hooking up with other guys, but it was like a year before I felt like I could do that. And in the process between my first partner and I breaking up, which was a 3-year relationship, and me moving on, it was basically a year, and it was a really painful year where I had like multiple I actually had to go to the hospital because I used to have so much like pain in my reproductory organs inside, and I didn't know what was causing that. And it was like, basically I did a bunch of research, and it was like a psychological impact of like when as a woman you're super into your partner, and then you break up, and it's like it takes its toll on your body and your reproductive organs as well. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, I was broken up, devastated, and then I started hooking up, and that's basically the context behind me sort of racking up like quite a body count. I should be up to close to like 30 at this point, and I want to say I regret around maybe 3 or 4 of these, but I wouldn't change any of this really. Okay, so let's start with what I learned. This is very personal, really. But I did learn a lot of things. So, starting with, sex is really sacred, and it is only supposed to be between you and your partners. And so, let me explain. So, I remember being really young and having the sense that my parents had like control over me all the time, and I felt like I was watched a lot, and I usually ended up asking them for permission for everything. Like, for example, oh, can I get a haircut, or like, can I wear this thing or whatever, or can I do this thing? And then so when I finally started having sex, naturally it was under wraps. It wasn't something that I could speak to my parents about. And I remember feeling so much guilt, and I knew that my parents wouldn't approve because I was hiding and lying. And a lot of times it felt like they were in my head, and like they were present when I was doing these things. And I was very uncomfortable for the longest time. But then over time, as I sort of hid from my parents to organize these meetings without consulting them, or sort of seeking approval, I was developing a sense of individuality. And so, being in a private space, essentially separating myself from them, from my parents, and from the whole world, really, I realized that sex is so sacred. It's an agreement between you and the partner that you're with, and you're basically representing. There's no mediator and there's no referee, so you and your partner are representing yourselves, and your ability to honor and respect each other's bodies and each other's minds. And you have to be very very conscious of your own and your partner's boundaries, and you have to kind of do your best to pleasure them in a way that they want to be pleasured. And it's like a secret, private, intimate, very, very vulnerable space where you and your partner are literally and metaphorically stripping yourself. And you're basically presenting yourself and your partner as you are, and you accept each other as you are. And really, this level of transparency, if you really think about it, it's nothing short of divine. It's a spiritual experience. And I just, uh, I remember realizing very early that sex was extremely sacred, and I don't think hookup sex is bad. I think that even casual sex can be done with respect and love, whether or not it looks like something that lasts forever and ever. You can still be respectful and honor the unity of two bodies, or more than one body for that matter, or more than two bodies for that matter. And sex is nothing like porn that we watch. It's not even close. It's very intimate and very lovely. It's not dirty. And okay, so secondly, in my case, I learned that saving myself for marriage really did not make any sense, because initially I wanted to save myself for marriage, and I thought I'd chosen a partner that I was entirely dedicated to by 18. And then after a couple of months of being in that relationship, we started a sexual relationship. And then I remember being so certain of him being my last partner, that I gave myself permission to completely give myself to him. And of course, like, things happen, and like we became really toxic to each other. We didn't have that like maturity or the complexity of thought to comprehend what it means to have a forever relationship. And so after 3 years, we called it quits. And then eventually after that, like after a year or something, I was like, oh, this is so pathetic. Like, how am I just expected to like should I just live without love or without sex? What do I do? And so then after a while, after a good long time, when I felt like it was safe enough, I sought out a new partner. And then eventually I wanted to have sex with him as well. And initially I was only having sex with people while I was in love, but then over time I realized that it's a major criteria for me. It's a metric that my partner has to fulfill. Like I do judge my compatibility with a partner partly based on how compatible we are sexually. So naturally, for someone like me, I cannot just dismiss it. So it was one of the factors that I really had to consider. And so every time I have a new partner, I do feel like exploring it. And so my body count increases, and maybe I don't feel like we're compatible or whatever. And then we break up. And so, yeah, it didn't make any sense. I also don't mind dating people with a sexual past, and I feel like it's okay. I don't think that I personally don't think that I have to like completely just stop myself in the hopes of someone in the future who will be honorable enough for me to wait. Like most people just aren't. Like most people aren't like the divine or the divine male or whatever. They're just people. So it's fine. It's not worth like glorifying sex in that way. It's cool. It's just one of the factors. Like I'll just do it and then like see if we're compatible. If that's one of the factors where we can be compatible, that's cool. But if that's not, it's not the main thing, but it's like one of the things that I do consider. Next one. Okay, this is a good one. So I did learn a lot about anatomy and how bodies work, because with every sexual experience I started having a lot of questions like, how does this work? Why does this happen? Sort of kind of asking myself also questions about what invisible things are happening inside my body, inside my partner's body, and so on. And so out of curiosity, I started to read up on like not just female body parts but also male body parts. And I got familiar with anatomy at large, and I realized that sex is just a biological function. It's not like the only function of a human body. So that was cool. And a lot of shame and fear associated with my own body, with my body parts, like it really went away. And also because I have shed a lot of inhibitions when it comes to this topic, I feel like I've also been able to really have constructive, very beneficial conversations about sex, with my friends, with my cousins, younger friends. In fact, even with my parents, I have been able to have a lot of conversations with other elders as well. There's a lot of taboo involved. There's a lot of like, discomfort around these topics, and I think we need to talk about sex more, considering it as a biological function rather than like a dirty or something, that we shouldn't be talking about, because that's how more dialogue happens, and safer, and people have safer sex, and we can discuss difficult things like rape, and I think that's important. Okay. Number 4 is, this is a good one. I got exposure to other people's bodies, and because they were so varied every time, a lot of the misconceptions that I personally had about like beauty and stuff, they kind of went away because I became more accepting of myself. Um, Once people accepted me, and once I started to accept people as well. Like, for example, like I always thought stretch marks were disgusting on me because I have them on my chest here, and they were a sign that I was fat and ugly. But then I like sort of explored other people's bodies and I realized that stretch marks are just literally just biology, kind of like physics, really. So, because even tall people have like stretch marks on their lower back and like on the back of their like calves and stuff. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess I just kind of needed someone to show me that it was normal to be human, and so then a lot of my body dysmorphia actually went away after I started having sex, which is crazy. You would think that um, I don't know, really. It was just exposure therapy. Exposure therapy. Haha. Um, okay, yeah. So number 5 is I got really good at sex. Um, and I feel like this happened just basically due to repetition. And I really started to notice nuances and subtleties and about the thing. And then it started becoming like an art form to me. And then over time, as I was exposing myself to multiple partners, I realized that everyone has something that makes them tick, and something that makes them feel good, or something that makes them feel bad. And I started realizing that like there's so much in intricacy in every single person's existence that brings them to a point where a certain thing might turn them on, or a certain thing might trigger them. And yeah, I really enjoy generating emotional responses in people, so I started getting really good at it. um yeah, okay. Number 6 is I started developing preferences and boundaries that I would not have known about myself if I hadn't been with so many people who treated me in so many different ways. I now have a mental library of experiences that I can refer to. That's really important and really, really true. I can basically protect myself now from people who are misbehaving with me, and that's just mainly because I can notice it faster. I can recognize it faster now. And I keep wondering this: if I had not gotten married to someone, or if I had gotten married to someone and not had this varied range of experiences, I would be so vulnerable because I wouldn't know enough, I wouldn't have enough information to interpret misbehavior or recognize what is good behavior. And I'm almost certain that there's a shocking number of men and women that get assaulted by their partners because they don't know what is good sexual behavior and what is bad sexual behavior. Um, for example, coercion or being convinced to have sex is a really, really bad thing. It's like rape level bad. So that's like super bad. Okay, number 7. I have also learned a lot about sexual etiquette, and I'm better behaved for it. That is true. I do understand consent, and I don't purposely like violate boundaries, and I don't prioritize my pleasure over my partner's comfort, or like if my partner says something's a no go, I will just accept it. I'm not dying to like fulfill my fantasies anymore because I've pretty much done everything that I need to do. So I've become a better partner overall. I also learned the importance of having really hard conversations, like talking about limits, like hard limits, soft limits. Like what are sweet spots? What does my partner enjoy doing? What does my partner hate doing? Like we'll never go there. What is our safe word? What trauma is involved? What are your previous experiences? What are my previous experiences? I think it's really good to have these conversations, and it's become easier for me over time to be able to have these conversations. Okay, number 8, I don't get tricked into getting into relationships or sticking it out in relationships because sex is the reward. Sometimes as a woman, sometimes partners can have this like effect on me, which is like they make me feel so beautiful, so like exclusive and wonderful, and like um I feel like I've seen so much behavior that looks like flattery, that is flattery basically. It looks like love, but it's actually flattery. And yeah, I feel like because I've seen so much of it, I kind of can identify what's like true affection and what's not. And the sort of elusivity or the novelty of this experience has worn out. And so now I'm kind of able to see like that sort of there's like an illusionary sort of haze that has kind of cleared out, and I feel like I can make better decisions because I can recognize where I am like um there's someone outside. Yeah. Okay, some negatives that I feel like have happened. Okay. Maybe next video. Okay, next video.